I get a lot of questions about how do I record video, how do I get the lighting to where it is, what do I choose for the background, all those sort of questions. And I do create a lot of video content, both professionally and as hobbies. So I thought, why not let's make a video about making videos. Yeah. So I'll go through everything that I've done over the past sort of 18 months in terms of getting the camera right and the settings on the camera and the lighting right and the composition and what you do with green screen and all this sort of stuff, because I started with this, which is not very impressive, right? So yeah, there's a lot that can be done with very little actually, but let's go back to the better quality. Yeah, I think I like this better as well. So yeah, let's start with camera. So here's the camera that I'm currently using. It's a Fujifilm X-T20. I'm not sure, it's a couple of years old or something, but it's a mirrorless 4K camera. And I don't know that much about cameras, but it's very easy to use and it gives really good quality. I do like the mirrorless cameras. So this has a 18-55 lens, which is that one there. And obviously I've hooked in audio, which I can't use now because I'm filming on my phone rather than the camera because I'm filming the camera. Anyway, so if I go around here, let's talk about ISO and aperture and shutter speed and all that. So you can say here's the frame from before. Now on this, I mean, this will be different on different cameras, but in particular here you can see that I have a 50th of a second shutter speed. I have an aperture of 3.2. That's how much light is coming in. So the smaller the number, the more light comes in, which makes the shutter speed less. Hope that makes sense. So if you have a high aperture, that means that you have a very little light comes in, but you get different effects from it. The ISO is the light sensitivity of, well, it kind of comes from film as well. You used to be able to get like 200 ISO, 400, 800 ISO film. Now with digital, still the same effect, the light sensitivity, but try and keep it around 800 or less, maybe 1200 or less. The higher you go, because it captures the light differently to make you be able to film in low light, it also makes it more grainy. So that's really important to keep in mind. So you can play with shutter speed, try and keep it above 50, because less than that and it starts being really slow and you can get sort of blurry motion. A lower aperture is my preference because it lets in more light and it also gives you that depth of field effect, which I'll show you a bit in just a second. And then the ISO as well there, which is I have at 800. And you can see the lighting here is very nice. I will go through the lighting as well. But those are the main things that you play around with on the camera. It is the shutter speed, the aperture, and the ISO. At least in my experience is what I've been doing the most of. And in this case, this camera here, you can turn this dial here and it'll change the shutter speed. As you can see, you can also change it on the top, but that's going to be different from camera to camera. So I'm not going to go through the details of how I do it on here, but just play around with it if you haven't done that before. Don't just set it on auto. This also has an auto mode right there. You can see it says auto. But try instead of learn how these affect the way that the video looks. It's really powerful. So that's how I use the camera and how I use those 3 settings to make it just right. So let's talk about lighting. That is one of the things that I find the hardest thing to do by far. It's really difficult. I'm very happy with the way that I get lighting to work for me in this room, and that's the key again. It really varies from room to room. So there's a couple of sort of key things I've learned. Some people would tell me that you want to have natural light because it gives it a softer glow, and it makes you look more natural, but it's really hard to control. So unless you film outside, obviously you have natural light, but if you film inside, my experience is shut the window blinds, shut the curtains, try and control the light, because you can do the same thing every time. So here, let me show you what I'm doing with lighting, okay? I'm gonna go behind the camera now. So I have, let's see here, for this, and this is not, we're not talking green screen yet. So I have a light here. I'm just gonna zoom out for you so you can, a bit better. Here's my big room. It's actually not a very big room, but I have a softbox there. I've angled that down because it gives me With glasses, it's really hard sometimes to get rid of the glare. I've just sort of given up at times, but angling it down gives me less reflection in my glasses, and it gives me a nicer sort of light on my face. Now, so here's the wall. If I then turn around over here, I've got another softbox. That's as far away as I can get it. You can see it's right all the way over in the corner. As far away as I can get it to kind of control the light. Now, these are very cheap softboxes. They're about, I don't know, 30 bucks, 40 bucks each or something. So I don't have any adjustments on them. They're just a light behind a curtain essentially. But they work for this. And then the key to my lighting in here, for me, is I have these two ceiling mounted panels. And these, I mean, I've done other videos on it, but I can adjust the lighting here with the dimmer. You see they go up and down. I've found that I have to put them all the way down to 20% for it to get the best lighting in here. And then this final thing is I've closed the blind. I can control the space in here, but it really varies from space to space on how you use it, to be honest. So, right, let me just put that down again here. And I'll just get the frame right again. Look at that. And I'd say that the most important thing I've found to get lighting to looks that isn't offensive, I guess that's the right word, is to get the face lighting right. Get the lighting on your face, your complexion to look sort of normal. Now, I'm pretty fair, so not a lot of light will make me just blow out, just make me look like a snowman. If you have darker skin, you might find you need a bit more lighting, or if you use makeup, there's many factors. But try and figure out how you look your face, how your face looks the best. That would be my number one, and then try and get everything else lit properly as well. Now, I'm looking to the future of having some background lighting. The light tubes that go on the wall that give me some glow from the bottom, to give the room some lighting rather than just me. Possibly have a light underneath the shelf here just to give it a bit of depth. But there are many ways that you can do lighting, but that's the main reasons I've found when I do videos. All right, next, green screen. All right, I've not changed office. No, obviously not. This is a green screen. There are things that you need to know about green screens as well, because as cool as they are, they do create a fair amount of work in editing. So that's one part of it. The other is that you want to light the green screen properly. So as I'll show in just a moment, I now have 4 lights on here because I've got 2 lights that lights the green screen, 2 lights that kind of lights me, or actually with the roof lights it's 4. And it's really important to get the lighting right, because if you have an uneven green, it's much harder to key out, which is the expression I've learned from my video editors, to remove the green. The other thing is that you often get this green glow. So if you wear a color or something that reflects the green and is not lit properly, then you get this green glow off you, and then it kind of looks weird because well, you're not on a green screen because it's removed or it's something else, but you're green, so that's a bit odd as well. But green screen can be really fun. They do give you a lot of opportunities to be somewhere else or to move yourself around on the screen, because you can just move wherever you want in editing. But let me just show you the lighting and how it works, all right? So there's the green screen, obviously. If I just zoom out, we'll see. There's it on the wall. There's, it's just a vinyl green screen. Again, not very expensive. And I have now a light there. So this is an LED light, and that light's just the green screen behind me. And then I have the same thing here. The light's also just the green screen behind me. And then when I stand here in front of the green screen, I have those 2 same softboxes to light me, as well as the lights up here as well. So green screen require a lot more light, but the effect you get is really cool. Let me just put you back here, up on the tripod, like that. And I'll zoom you in so it's only green, like that. And here we are again. And I can now do something else with the green screen. And for the right purposes, it works really well. I'm not a fan of green screen for everything, because it gets weird and disjointed at times. But for certain effects and certain kind of projects, it is really neat. Let's go back to look at some of the camera tricks. Works? Yeah, those. All right, let's talk about depth of field, because this is really important. So right now, my face is clear, relatively, and behind me, everything's really fuzzy. it gives you an idea of space, right? It makes you think that you're in a larger environment. And that's really important to kind of intrigue the eye and not make everything sort of look flat. So as an example, let me just try and remove the depth of field. Hang on. So if I zoom out here again, I get that. I'll zoom out all the way here. If I now go and stand here, there's no depth in the picture. It's just me on a big blank canvas, essentially. It just looks flatter. It doesn't look as intriguing. Most of the time, of course, it can work. There's always exceptions, but I like the depth of field. I like having that if I step forward, that I get a bit more sort of depth. I keep saying depth, but that's what it is. Try and do that. So let's talk audio. Now, there's not much I can say about it because I kind of found a way it works for me. I use this lapel, lavalier, lav mic, they have many names, but one that sort of sits on my shirt, you can see there. Hello. And that's, now this particular system is a wireless system that sits in my pocket, and it goes to the camera and it's plugged into the camera. And it's just faultless, to be honest. It's the Rode wireless microphone system. And that works really well for me. Now, some people don't like the look of having that microphone there because it looks like you're trying to get good audio, which I am, but instead they use what's called a shotgun mic, and it's a long thin mic that's on a boom usually, so it kind of sits just outside of shot, sort of here or here right in front of me. Those can work really well as well. They're much more expensive than the lavalier mic, so that's kind of why I haven't gone down that path yet. I'm keen to explore it because it does give a good effect and it can give really good audio. But they're very directional. So with this, I can move around and the audio is, no matter what, it's really good no matter where I go, right? But with the shotgun mic or the boom on with a mic, you've seen this in movies as well, they move it around. You have to be right in my face. Like the directional mic has to point right at where I'm speaking from. So I can't move around as much if I use that. So there's different pros and cons. I would say start out with a lav mic like this. This is a Rode mic. They're about $50 or something. Not much. The audio is great from what I'm doing. And they have a lot of applications in terms of where you can place them as well, and how you connect them. I also have, I'll show you this. If I went new the micro, the wireless, I have an H1N Zoom mic, which I can plug the microphone into, and that can record audio as well. This is great if you're just doing audio as well, like a podcast or something. But that's another good, very budget-friendly alternative. They're about $100, something like that, $120. Yeah, so that's how I record audio. Audio is important to get right because people tend to not engage as well with bad audio quality, but it's not that hard to get right either if you can control the environment like I do here, and a lavalier mic is a pretty good option. So yeah, all right, let's move on to composition. Yeah, it's a tricky one, really, because composition means something different to many people. Now, I like having stuff in the background because I think that gives me depth, as we talked about earlier. I can put things on my shelf. I have a permanent shelf here that I tend to exchange things on, and that gives me a nice way of changing things in the background. I've also put a hook over here. In this case, I put some lanyards on there to give a bit of, I guess you can use context as well. You can use it for context. So if I was talking about conferences, if I was talking about presenting, like I am now, I could use lanyards. If I was talking about space, I could use the ISS space station in Lego. Or if I was talking about Lego, put some Lego. Or whatever it might be that you can create context. And that can be part of your composition as well. Now, composition is tricky because it depends on what you think works. And it's very subjective. There's all the rules of thirds and the golden triangle thing. I don't know what they're called. But there are rules that you can look up as well and see how you can get the composition right. I tend to think that if I'm either in the center or like slightly on to a third of the side, so if I was standing like here, that gives me a pretty good composition. I can overlay things on the left or the right or zoom in and out. It gives me some editing choices as well. What you don't want is you don't want to unintentionally muddle up the subject. So that's me in this case. So if I was just standing over here sort of and there was more things next to me, it would look like you don't know where to look. The composition's kind of off. But if I move forward here, it becomes obvious that I'm the center of this particular video. Composition is really tricky. As I said before, I don't have the right answer other than try what works. Get inspiration from other people that do video and look it up. You can be very mathematical about it, and that kind of works sometimes. But I tend to go with what looks right to my eye. So yeah, it's not always the best way, but yeah, make sure there's not too much noise in the background. Noise meaning objects everywhere. We'll get to that in the video calls as well, but that's kind of what I go for when it comes to composition. Yeah, not that helpful, but that's how I do it. All right, let's talk about video calls and live presentations, because there's a lot of those around at the moment. All right, I'm now at my desk because I do a lot of presentations from my desk, online virtual conferences at the moment. I do a lot of video calls because I work from home. And how do you get good quality on that then? I thought I'll just throw that in there as well. So I use the same Fuji X-T20 as I showed you before as my webcam. So I have that here, obviously my screen's in front of me. I can, the camera's just behind the screen. And it's connected via a HDMI cable into a 4K Elgato cam link that is then connected into my computer via USB. And that allows me to have my Fuji camera as a webcam. Very cool, and I get that really nice quality. And then obviously I'm still using lighting, so you can see that, my face is somewhat lit. I have the softbox there, and I have one behind me. It's just out of shot for you. And that just gives me a little bit better lighting. And then I tend to worry about my background. I tend to choose items that are contextual to what I'm presenting, if possible. So in this case, I'm talking to you about how to do videos, how to create lighting, how to present on camera. And that's why I've placed some tripod stuff. There's my homemade teleprompter. I didn't want to fork out hundreds of dollars for a teleprompter, so I made one. Works beautiful. Has an old Android tablet. That's all I need. And there's a tripod, etc. But try and be conscious of your background. Don't have it too cluttered. You can use one of those virtual backgrounds, but I am not a fan of them. I think it makes people look like they're sort of just in virtual space. They're cybering. I don't know. It just doesn't look that real to me. I don't get the context of where they are, and I need that as an audience member. So I like having a real background and just kind of dressing it up as it needs to be. So that's about it. I'm using a different microphone, my Rode Podcaster, because I use that for audio all the time. It gives really good audio. It works well on calls as well. I think that's it. But now let's move on to something that I think is one of the most important things for creating videos. All right, let's talk about probably the big one, and that's personality. How do you come across through that lens in there? How do you make sure that you come across so that you're engaging and then people want to watch your stuff? How do you, have personality? I guess is the right word. Now for me, I am kind of just me, sort of, because it's practice, right? The number one. Practice, practice, practice. The more you're in front of the camera, the more at ease you'll be, the easier it'll seem, the less weird it'll be to kind of talk to no one because there's no one behind the camera. And that is something that you get over time. And also what can put a lot of people off is that if you have to kind of perform to a camera and there's a bunch of people standing around it, that can be quite unnerving as well. So whatever way you prefer, you got to practice and wherever you have to work, right? So one of the ways that you can practice is just do it like this and just record it for no one and just make silly faces. And then kind of loosen up that way, right? And then once you kind of got across that sort of, yes, I'm on video and I'm talking now and I'm quite uncomfortable, you don't want to come across like that, right? Because it translates into people's kind of going, does this person know what they're doing? You want to have some confidence on screen. You want to be you, right? So I like hats. So I might wear a hat, right? That's Martin the Moose. Hello. And that's just part of what I do. And I'd use that to loosen up the mood. And people kind of go, what's this dude on about? Especially if they haven't seen me talk before. They go, this is a bit weird. But it loosens up that. It breaks the ice. And it gets people sort of in my living room. Now I'll probably, throughout the video, I might take the hat off. I probably should, shouldn't I? But at least now the ice is broken, right? And that kind of is important, that people get to that point and go, oh, right, I'll listen. I'll see what this person has to say. And that's really it. There's no substitute for kind of practicing, to be honest. If I have a script and if I go through and I record a video with a script, I will often rehearse it first because it's always better the second time. And if you get comfortable in front of the camera and you get used to talking to a camera, then it just gets better. And the more videos you do, the better they get. I bet you the most famous YouTubers that you like to watch, if you watch their early videos and their current videos, huge difference, massive difference. But they had to start somewhere. It's practice, 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 figuring out what works. What doesn't work, leave it. What works, keep doing that. And that's important. So that's kind of like, how do you get personality into it? Loosen up, practice, be yourself. All right, I hope all of these things have made it a little bit clearer on how you can record video. Now, there's no shortcut, there's no easy way, there's no, hey, let's just do a quick video. In my opinion, all of it takes time, all of it takes practice, all of it takes experience to kind of get to a point where you're happy with it. But you've got to start somewhere. So whether you have a phone camera or you have no microphone or you have very little lighting, it doesn't matter. Just start somewhere. And then when you get another light new in one of the soft boxes like I have here, yeah, use that. See how that changes your lighting. Just do it. Just get into it and create something that you are passionate about. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Yes, or even 2. Please give it 2. Can you do that? And subscribe to my channel because I do a whole bunch of techie content. Maybe stuff like this that's sort of more soft skill, human skill focused. I don't know what to call it, but still technical. I do a bunch of stuff on networking and home automation and cloud computing and all sorts. So please subscribe and leave a comment. If you do it differently, give me tips. Again, I'm not an expert. I don't exactly have all the answers. I've just gone through the motions and do a lot of experimenting to kind of figure out what works for me. So I would love to hear your story as well in the comments. And I will talk to you soon. So thanks for watching.